Hello, everyone. Happy International Women's Day, and thank you to everybody who's joined us today. I think we will get started because it's now quarter to one. So I'll hand over to Corinne to start and welcome everybody.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Women's Day. I'm warmly welcoming you all on this very special day, the 8th of March. Internationally, this day is celebrated to look at the political, economic, social, and cultural achievements of women. So this day also highlights the societal challenges and struggle women face. And so across the world, this day marks a very strong call to action for accelerating gender parity. It also really put the emphasis on the importance and significance of women in creating an inclusive world. This year's International Women's Day theme is Choose to Change. A challenged world is an alert world. Individually, we are all responsible to choose to change. And I think, part of this conversation is really to prompt and put it to you. What do you choose to change? I just want to introduce myself. My name is Karen Kleinboy. I'm a regional program manager for Solidaridad Southern Africa. I'm standing in for my colleague, Precious Gree, our gender and inclusivity regional advisor who's on a business trip. So I'm hoping that I am able to fill this seat to her satisfaction. Just to give you a little bit of background around Solidaridad, it's an international civil society organization with over 50 years of experience in developing solutions to make communities more resilient. From our early roots in Latin America, and that's where we do get the name from, Solidaridad, which means solidarity. From to our current work, fostering more sustainable supply chains, we currently work in over 40 countries on 5 continents through 8 independent supervised regional offices. Our new strategy, which started this year until 2025, builds on our 50-year journey, which we have been following towards an economy that works for all. Our mission is to address the imbalances of power and ensure genuine ownership through established participation. I think part of this will also come out in the discussion today, to influence and to affect change in supply chains in almost 11 global commodities, but also a large range of locally relevant food-related commodities in the countries that we are working in. So let's kick off. I'm very happy to be part of this conversation. I hope that we have a very robust and vibrant conversation with a small group of women. I apologize that it looks like I'm looking up. My camera sits on my keyboard and I have a bigger screen in front of me. So I'm focusing on the screen. It might look like that I'm not making contact with you, but be that as it may, Nantu, I'm going to hand over to you to introduce yourself, and then that will be followed by the introduction of our panelists. Okay. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Corinne. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us on International Women's Day. I know there's so much going on today, so many events, activities. So we're so grateful that you've managed to join us today. So my name is Nonto Wozomasuru. You can call me Nonto. I am the convener of Accelerate Afrique, which is a global community for African women in leadership. And it's such an honor to be co-hosting with Corinne today. And I'm so excited about this conversation. And I want to believe that we will benefit so much from each other. I guess as Corinne asked, choose to challenge. What are you choosing to challenge today? Would love to hear from everybody. So if you could, in the chat box, if you could just type what it is that you're choosing to challenge, and then maybe we can share that as we have our conversation. What are you choosing to challenge? I'm choosing to challenge every woman to speak out and let their voice be heard and own your story. Don't allow anybody to own your story for you. So that's my challenge. I choose to challenge every woman here and around the globe to do the same. So please go ahead, what you're choosing to challenge, and also just tell us where you're coming from. Would love to hear from everybody. And so without further ado, I'll ask our speakers today, to Nono and Veronica, to introduce themselves. They are choosing to challenge the status quo in the agricultural sector. So we'd love to hear from them. So Nono and Veronica, please could you just introduce yourselves.
Okay, I'll go first. Hi everyone, my name is Nono Sekgoto. I'm a commercial farmer, and I also have been doing a lot of work in South Africa, where I advocate for support of how to bring in young people into the agricultural sector. I've also worked with African Farmers Association of South Africa, and I'm currently partnering with African Leadership Academy to really focus on youth and agriculture.
Thank you for that, Nono. Veronica, are you there? Veronica? I hope she can hear us.
Maybe she can't hear. You're on mute, Veronica. Okay. May I suggest, because we are a very small group, we can just quickly ask everybody to introduce themselves, and then we try and sort out the technicalities of getting Veronica back. Shall we do that? Oh, we've got her. Thank you. Great.
Veronica, we're waiting for you to introduce yourself. Okay. I think we still have a challenge there. So maybe we can ask, like, just like Karine asked, for people to just quickly introduce themselves.
Yeah, just briefly who you are, which organization you are representing.
Precious.
Can we start?
Please introduce yourself. I'm calling names out now. Precious, please introduce yourself. Okay, so maybe we just, maybe people are still trying to gather their nerves, their guts, whatever it is. But please use the chat box to tell us where you're coming from and to tell us what it is that you're challenge. So I think without further ado, I will hand over to Karine, who will take on the first few couple of questions with Nono and Veronica.
Thank you, Nontu. May I just check, Veronica? Can you hear us? Veronica, are you able to hear us? You're on mute. She cannot hear. Okay. Shall we try and
Can you hear me a bit?
Yes.
Yes. Can you please introduce yourself before we go ahead, Veronica? Welcome.
Let me try. Unsteady. Can you hear an echo? Okay, sorry about that. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, actually. Thanks everyone for organizing, and thanks for having me here. My name is Veronica. I am a social entrepreneur. I for the past about 8 or so years, around previously disadvantaged communities who are in business, assisting them with either skills, access to mainstream markets, or new job creation initiatives. And 2018, I found myself in agriculture space, having taken keen interest on modern agriculture technologies, specifically the vertical farming, hydroponics and aeroponics, aquaponics. And because my interest has always been to see how best I can empower the previously disadvantaged communities, these beautiful technologies were very, very appealing. However, not necessarily practical for the majority that I normally work in that space. So I took it upon me to find out innovative solutions that will allow your average urban aspiring farmer who doesn't have space but wants to farm to be able to actually realize that. And through that, I've worked significantly the past 3 years in innovation of urban farming solutions, smart agriculture, building women capacity to work in the agri-value value chain, etc. And I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica. You've now already touched on some of the issues that I would like to pose in this question, but be that as it may, you know, I'm throwing these questions out to both you and Nonu, and feel free to answer the ones that you feel comfortable with. So let's start off. Let's start with you, Nonu. What are your areas of focus within agriculture, within the agricultural space, and what is going well? You're on mute.
Of course. As I mentioned, I'm a commercial farmer. So my area of interest there is cattle. Cattle is our main business. We plant sunflower and maize on about 700 hectares of land. And we have an apple orchard, a very small one. And we've done sheep and dairy as well in the past. And I've also dabbled in rabbit production. So for me, I think if you think about, you know, how I got introduced in the sector, so I've been now in the agriculture sector for 10 years. The focuses that I've been able to see on primary production have allowed me to access quite a variety of commodities, which has exposed me to quite a lot because of that. And so the second level of the work that I do is in support. You know, when I joined African Farmers Association of South Africa in 2013 or 2012, somewhere there, it was really around understanding how it is that we would support newcomers into the industry. And so in our country, which we call, you know, emerging farmers. And so the work that I did when I arrived there was really to focus on the youth portfolios. How are we bringing on new farmers that are young? What do they need? You know, being a young farmer myself, I could obviously relate, but having access to a lot of the young farmers I have over the years has really given me a rich experience to kind of understand what is exactly needed. And so the third level of what I've done in the sector is really connecting with the rest of the industry so that we can partner with private sector as well as public sector to be able to make them understand what is their contribution and participation to be able to bring on newcomers in the industry. And so really the journey of my work has really been around finding that appropriate support for those coming into the industry.
Is it going well?
Yes, so the part that's going well, as you can imagine, agriculture is a difficult industry, inherently. But what I think has been going well, especially now, is really being able to highlight the importance of young people who are showing interest in agriculture. When I arrived 10 years ago into the sector, it was all about, youth don't want to farm, youth don't like agriculture, how do we make it sexy? And so over the years, I've literally been, trying to turn that around. Is we already have youth that are interested. How do we get them successful? And to me, I think that face of showing that young people are active, they want to participate, they're interested in agriculture is going really well across, and this is across the continent. We've been seeing some fantastic young people getting into the sector, and it's really exciting for me.
Thank you, Nono. Over to you, Veronica. So what are your areas of focus within this agricultural space, and what is going well for you?
Sorry, if you don't mind, let me just put my video off because I think my connection today is not good. Is that fine?
Sorry about the technicalities.
Yes. Sorry, just repeat the question for me, please.
What are your areas of focus and within this agricultural space and what is going on?
Okay, so my areas of focus are around the urban farming solutions, the innovation around urban farming solution, which will specifically fit within the base of the pyramid communities that I normally work for or serve, as well as exploring the agri-value chain to see how best one can fit in, because I think generally speaking, when you talk about farming, we see soil and we see tilling the land, and we miss out the value adds services that one can do and actually benefit much better in the area. So I focus on those areas significantly, and what has worked well is really the innovations around urban farming solutions.
Thank you. All right, so perhaps let me just move on to the next question, unless there's any questions for clarity. What are the key leadership principles you live by, both of you, in your business, in your personal life, that have helped you to achieve the outcomes that you wish to deliver? So what are those key principles, those key leadership principles that you live by, both in your work and in your personal life? Veronica, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. For me, leadership is about the people, and therefore, in my day-to-day go about, I work with people. I'm very conscious about having people around me, or realizing that leadership is about people. I also believe in leading by example, and I think for women, we are leaders, whether we were identified that we're leaders or we just happen to be leaders. But generally speaking, women are leaders, and leading by example is very, very critical for me. Another principle is, if I can call them principle, I think a lot of these things happen subconsciously, right? So I look at the ability to listen. I'm very keen to understand what the other person perceives what I'm saying or the instruction that I'm giving. And this cuts across my personal life, my business life, and community life. I tend to listen a lot to understand. Again, I'm very fast to admit mistakes or failures, and be eager to pick up and learn some more. And also, if I could say that I'm very conscious about the need to adopt or change as an individual as we move on towards life, as life progresses, whether it's in business or in personal life. I think that would be some of my leadership principles. Thank you.
Thank you. Nonu?
So Veronica touched on something, is that, it's, when you live by some of these principles, not something you intentionally do. And so for me, I think what's been interesting about this journey, I'll give you just a little bit of a framework to understand why it is I've come up with those specific values that I hold more than others, is that it seems that, when I look back at how it is that I got to where I am, I didn't plan to be called a leader or to participate as a leader. I was busy going along my way of understanding how life is, so that you can be able to get the returns that you want out of life, right? So you kind of put in, it's almost like you sow what you reap what you sow. And so there are four things that I've looked at and I think about a lot is, it's accountability. Just always knowing that, I have to be held accountable for the actions that I do, whether it's a mistake or whether it's good and positive things. That's something that is always on my mind, is that it's okay to do wrong, sometimes, even though it's not intentional, but you have to be able to be accountable for all the things that you do, even if they aren't exactly, right. but you don't, but because you're responsible, which is the next one, is that you have to choose, right over wrong. You always have to find a way to choose right over wrong. And as a leader, that's something that's that should be a personal experience. And so your actions of choosing right from wrong is kind of what will be reflected to those that are around you, as opposed to you doing it to show people. It's really a personal journey to choosing right from wrong. So being responsible and actually understanding that the actions that that I have taken forth have obviously are going to influence others around me. That's kind of where responsibility comes in. Then I've also got the fact that we all have a potential for impact. A lot of people think that you have to be great, as Veronica said, is that we're all leaders in our space at some, at every level. And you always have a potential to impact, whether it's one person, whether it's a lot of people. And I think leadership is really about that. And so that's why if you're responsible about how it is that you act around people and engage and work, the impact that you have is really, really can really be really great, for anybody. And I think for me, that has been true because, as I said, while I was discovering myself in this industry, it turned out there were so many people, following on social media who were really inspired by the work that I did. But that was not my intention. My intention was really to just learn and really just be open to the opportunities that came around. And so for me, I've thought, potential for impact is a big thing as a leader. And then the last one is pride. Pride in a way that, being proud of the things that you do. So hence, it's almost like a thread, because if I do the right things that can impact someone, that will really make me proud and keep kind of repeating that type of that kind of process in the way I interrogate leadership. And so taking pride in the work that I do, taking pride also has to do with the fact that, the people that I've met in the industry, even that we go around, that we meet, those people are the ones that actually lift you up. So engaging with people and building relationships also allows you to, to be proud in the way that you do your work. And so for me, those are kind of the traits that I've thought about over the years. And but the one that Veronica mentions as well, which is very important, is really engaging and building solid relationships wherever you go with people.
So these are really very solid principles. And, I think one of the comments that is coming in is that today's webinar is one way of showing people how to climb the ropes. It's not just about, having this dream, you have to be principled, you have to work hard at it, you have to make it a mission. And then, of course, another comment that came in is that the biggest challenge, it's from Kira, the biggest challenge to most people is not knowing where to start. The how of doing things is always a barrier to newcomers to any industry. On that note, I think, we are going to talk about the challenges. No, let me hand over to you to continue the questions that we want to pose.
Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you, Nona and Veronica. I love those answers. A leader being able to listen, being able to adapt, accountability, responsibility. Those are just brilliant. Thank you so much. And I think before I ask our next lot of questions, I would like to read a few comments here. At the beginning of the webinar, we asked people to say what they choose to challenge. And here, I'm just going to read a few. She says, hello, everyone. I represent myself and two of my friends who are also on this call. Mainstream, I am an insurance and risk advisor who has recently taken a keen interest in agriculture, albeit a bit late in my life. But that is the challenge for me. I choose to challenge any barriers, to recreate self, to see beyond age, gender, and experience. Be courageous. I love that. And Karen says, I choose to challenge women to own their space. And then another one is Abby says, in the words of our Miss Universe, I challenge women to take up space. The world is our oyster. I love that. And I'll read one more. I am Dr. Irene Kamara, logging in from Johannesburg. I challenge women to eliminate hunger in Africa. Start with a vegetable garden in your backyard. I love that. Thank you so much. I'll continue reading the others as well. So choose to challenge. What is your challenge? So Veronica and Nona, today, as we talk about Choose to Challenge, we are also really looking at women in leadership, women leading in achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 world. And so, as we all know, COVID hit last year. We were not expecting it. We were going about our business, and then it just happened. It's something that we haven't planned. So, as women in the agricultural sector and leaders as well, how has COVID affected your businesses in general? How has COVID affected your businesses, and how have you used your leadership skills to actually mitigate whatever challenges that you had to face? So maybe we start with how COVID has affected your business, and then we move on to what leadership skills you've actually used to mitigate the challenges. We'll start off with Nono.
Okay. So yeah, the effect, so interesting enough, my business had been affected by a few other things. So when COVID hit, it was just another thing. So as I said, my main business is in beef production. And so we had just come out of foot and mouth disease, so which meant the markets were closed at some point, and at a very crucial point, which was in December 2019. And so coming into 2020, thinking, okay, this is going to be a new year, things are looking well, market prices were also coming up again. The COVID-19 in that space really hit us in a way that we had kind of new regulations of how it is we're accessing markets. That's another thing. It really just hit us on a very important, accessing to markets for us is a big thing, for any business. And how you're doing it, if you've got a routine, and we have a big what's it called, like a big feedlot that we sell to close by. So we could literally call them today to say we're bringing in cattle tomorrow, and then we'll have our cash within a week. So that process for us was how we were used to. And so when COVID hit, all regulations had to change. They had to have different procedures. It now takes longer to get into the market. There's vet regulations that need to be checked. We need to check our animals again. So there's all these things that just came up, and it really destabilized our market access. And for us to be able to do that is that we had to make sure that we learn and are doing it right away. There was no time to think about it and kind of hope that it will change. And that's really what it is. Adapting means as soon as you literally have to find out what's going on as much as possible and then act. And I think for me, those were the leadership skills that we kind of used with my business partner, who's also a woman, and she's full-time on the farm because her skill is actually in production. And I'm obviously the business driver, so to speak. And so it was really around how do we then change our processes very quickly to make sure that we can access markets right away. So that to me, taking action about finding out, ensuring that you know what is going on, and then taking action. And that really has helped us, because now it's been a year, we've been in this process and we're pretty comfortable. We're back, prices are back up, and we're having proper access to markets, and we understand how to do that. So that's just one little thing that I thought. There's a lot of other things, of course.
Thank you for that, Nono. I love that. Being able to change, to adapt to new ways of doing things, being able to learn, that those are skills that are needed as leaders. Veronica, maybe you can also share your insights.
Wow, thanks so much. No, that was really, really great. I think on my side, when we started this webinar, because of the challenges of connection, I missed out some of I think I didn't get the questions right in the very beginning. So I should perhaps say that I'm involved with two association NGOs that are focused with farming and urban farming. So the first one is African Association for Vertical Farming that sits in Switzerland, and it looks at into the continent and try to accelerate practice of urban farming. And then the second association is African Women in Agriculture, that is in Johannesburg, that focuses solely on women and assisting women to sit in the agriculture space. So if I go back to the question at the moment, which is the challenges during COVID, for me, first of all, COVID, I think it stalled my business because I was at the very initial stage of launching a specific innovation that I call I'm a Veggie Pyramid. So when COVID hit, I had done very, very great sort of pilots towards the end of 2019. And the beginning of 2020 was when I was now going to sit with the clients and roll out projects. And one of the projects was with GDAD, Gauteng, the agriculture department in Gauteng. And that, of course, stalled. And generally, you have income losses, businesses stalling, so there's no income. There's also a sense of disorientation, a sense of a state of being in a freeze state. You know, you don't know what is happening, the state of being in an unknown space that you don't know to go left or right. And to me, it took a little bit of time to pick up and start running around and look for what else can we do. You know, you get into this now, that phase of being in Zoom meetings. And because I was at the very beginning stage of my business, I had to start looking at different modus operandi, if I can put them that way, because my business needed people to physically come to my demo garden and see the product itself, so before the discussion can take place. And that changed how I should operate and how I operate. So going through that phase of freeziness for some time. And I think before the lockdown, we had launched the AAVF, African Association for Vertical Farming in Kenya, which went very, very well. And of course, as soon as I came back here, the lockdown happened. So you sort of go through this deep of trying to figure out what to do and how can you deal with the situation. But then slowly but surely, you start picking up on how to get that pulse going again. And personally, I started looking for different groups to join, just for motivation. You know, you get morning groups that you have motivation. Then you look for, you start exiting other groups because they're not speaking to you at the time. And then you look for networks that can actually assist you and keep you keep the momentum going in the drive. So specifically, you know, agriculture and business networks. And also now I realized that because it's a new project and a product, I needed to actually align myself with other businesses or other partners who we could package the project as one. And I started building collaboration throughout the lockdown period. You start talking to people, you do your videos, you do your live walk in the gardens, the best way you can demonstrate, you can show the demo garden. And slowly but surely things started working out. And by the end of last year, I had actually managed to form a very good collaboration with African women in agriculture. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Veronica. Thank you, ladies. And I think, you know, you've been speaking about, you know, what you have done to kind of mitigate the challenges that have come by because of COVID. But as you have both mentioned, leadership is not about us. It's about, you know, the people you are leading. So maybe let's talk a little bit about, you know, what support or what initiatives you have come up with to actually help, be it women you are supporting or none of the youth you are supporting. What are some of the initiatives that you have actually come up with to help these, you know, even these youth and women in agriculture to actually overcome the challenges that they are actually facing due to COVID? We'll start off with Nono again. Is Nono there? Have we lost her? Maybe Veronica?
Okay, yeah, sure. So because I play different roles on different associations over and above my own organization, I could touch on different things that we have done, right? So the first one, during the pandemic, with African Association for Vertical Farming, we were able to start to train people to have their own backyard gardens using some old drums, if you like, or some plastic drums that we poke holes on the side, and then they start growing spinach or kale or different vegetables. So we ran different programs at no cost, and we we were able to gather quite a number of youth, especially in Kenya, who were able to start their own vegetable gardens. And all of this, if I can put, you need to be a self-starter and sort of group yourself with people who have similar interests, and then try and run something. Some things work out, some things don't work out. But this is one of the things that work out. I think few people were able to start their own gardens. Again, I did mention that it was important not to operate in isolation, especially during the COVID times. That is the time you realize that you need so many pieces to put them together for your business to work, or anything, any initiative to work. So I was able to bring different players. So I have this amazing innovation that I call a veggie pyramid. It's a garden that allows you to grow your stuff going vertically. However, I don't have any knowledge in soil management, in irrigation, in pest management, and all those kind of things. So I can't just go and sell this product. I needed to bring some expertise that we would sort of partner and package a product or a service or a project together. And these kind of collaborations actually have managed me, I've managed my business to start gaining traction. And even with, I would say, even with AWIA, African Women in Agriculture, we have initiated an incubation program where we have 12 young women that we started 2 weeks ago. But of course, the process started over 2 years ago, and I joined them last year. So we have 12 women that we're going to train them on agriculture and agri business in general. So I think those are some of the initiatives that actually have worked for me. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Veronica. And Nona, over to you.
Could you ask the question again? Sorry, I just missed that part. Yeah.
I said, we spoke about how you as leaders have, what the strategies or, leadership skills that you've had to implement to mitigate the COVID-19 challenges. So now my question was, what are you doing for your tribe, for your community? Like in your case, I guess it's the youth. How are you helping them to actually overcome and to mitigate the challenges that have been brought about by COVID-19?
COVID, yeah. So in one of the work, the projects that I'm working with, the African Leadership Academy, they invited me to start a program that supports young people to actually build careers in the sector, and it's across the continent. So one of the strategies that we use is really to give them access to opportunities, right? So it'll be either we're giving them access to internships in agribusinesses or jobs. And so last year when I started, just before COVID hit, I've been talking to quite a lot of stakeholders who were willing to take quite a lot of the young people to come in for internships. And of course, when COVID hit, it meant what? No traveling. And most of them are obviously based all over the world. And obviously they would be, flying in to come and get those opportunities. And so we needed to think about like, oh my goodness, what is going to happen now? Does it mean that our young people are not going to, further their development in this year just because they can't get there? I mean, in agriculture, we know you want to be there to come and feel and be part and see, it's very hands-on. But what we then realized is that, which is one thing I've really been advocating for in this industry, is that there's so many opportunities that we can use in agriculture, skills that you may think are not for agriculture. Everyone is just thinking farming, but there's so many other things that we can do to really participate in the industry. And so the focus was then said, okay, how do we make sure that we can still provide internship opportunities virtually? How would that look like? And so it was really we then decided, actually, we're going to go and interview a lot of the small businesses to understand small agribusinesses. What are your challenges around running a business? And it turns out that a lot of people who are running agribusinesses are not necessarily skilled in agri studies, right? They maybe don't know how to do production well enough. They have not been really trained in agri studies. And so that was for us a huge gap. I said, actually, we can do this. We'll identify young people who are studying and who are graduates, who can actually use skills that they can use online. So whether it's putting together programs for maybe increasing production, or trying to make you understand what other issues you can solve in your business, to really have another almost like a capacity in your business to be able to help you solve some of the challenges that you also you didn't even know how you were going to solve. And so that's what we've done. So now we're running a really big program right now that is enabling small businesses to have access to what you would call consulting type of roles and expertise, which they would not be able to afford. And then we're then linking them up with students and graduates who've got some of those skills to be able to employ them. And so it's been really exciting because we've got partners now that are also funding the stipends for those students to be able to ensure that our small agribusinesses have access to those skills. So that to me has been, one of the things that we've been, because of COVID, we had to really think about that. How do we still make sure that our young people are getting experience and are using their skills and developing themselves, and we're still helping our young businesses in the sector in a variety of ways.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I'll cross over to Karine to ask the next set of questions, but to those who are on, the ladies who are on, please can you, because we would love to hear from you regarding some of the challenges that you are facing. So if you have any questions for Nono and Veronica that you'd like to like them to address in line with our theme for the day today, please just put them on the chat box so that we can also cover those as well as we are having our discussion today. So over to you, Karine.
Okay, thank you. I mean, what I'm hearing was words such as, being disorientated, being a little bit paralyzed, but quickly having to find, that flexibility within your business so that you can respond to the challenges of COVID. And what I also heard from both of you is that, you had to think about collaborations, you had to think about partnerships, continuing to think how can we support and contribute to others growing. So really, I think, COVID took us out of that little bit of comfort zone. We created a bubble of uncertainty, but, we were all very flexible to build back better, to become some of the changes, which actually COVID exposed to such an extent, and even made it a little bit more easier for us to deal with. So with that, I think it takes transformational leadership to be able to respond to such a crisis. So what I would like to ask is, why is leadership skills important for women to have, and how do we empower more women to have these abilities? I think you already started to talk about that, but perhaps, Veronica, we can start with you. Why is it so important that we skill women with leadership and empower them so that they can also access some of these opportunities?
Well, thanks so much, Karine, for that question. Firstly, I must say that I really appreciate what Nono is saying about their latest project of empowering small agribusinesses through the students. That is amazing. So congratulations on that. So if I can come to the question that you've asked. So women, I think, we were born leaders, for lack of a better word. We were born leaders. We lead subconsciously. And it's just that the society setup does not allow us to thrive because it's patriarchy, and I think we all know the story. For me, it's very important to be self-aware. Self-awareness becomes very critical skill to have as a leader and be able to serve others. Okay, and once when you're self-aware of your strengths, your weaknesses, then it allows you to either look for somebody else to compensate or to complement with your skills, or improve areas that needs improvement, or do both. Okay, we cannot as women and leadership, it's a continuous journey of self-improvement, self-awareness again and again, because life changes, things change, we meet different people who change us. And therefore, with leadership skills, most of the time we have them and not even aware or acknowledge them, because maybe we're not given a platform per se or identified as leaders, but we are leaders. So it's very important that we continuously build ourselves, and we continuously identify each other with their strengths and empower each other. So I think for women, because this thing of leadership happens subconsciously, and I'm repeating that word because it's really what it is what we do all the time. When you notice there's a leadership skill that you want to enhance on others, one should take up upon themselves and do it. And this can be your neighbor, your sibling, your own child, your colleague. And I think we don't have to be CEOs, or we don't have to be senior in our supposedly positions to actually nurture others. It is important that we nurture others on a day-to-day basis, activities or within our communities. And I must also say that when I think of leadership as a skill, I also see that allowing to be led is part of the leadership skill. You need to be able to know when to let others lead you and when to lead. And the difference is very, very critical, because it allows you to humble yourself and allow others to take charge. It allows you, even when you are at the top, to take a step back so that you are able to learn from others. And again, I did mention about the skill of listening. Those skills comes in handy when you're able to take a step back and listen or allow to be led. And I think structures around us today, the platforms we have, the webinars like this, the WhatsApp groups or women groups, these are the areas that we could use in a very salient manner and empower other women. There's a lot that one can do, but I think we need to be more deliberate about empowering other women. Thanks.
Thank you. I really love that you said, Veronica, that we are born leaders. To continuously, so it's a process and a journey of continuously building, empowering, and strengthening ourselves and others. So what I would say, or what I would call, that nurturing of leadership, really very significant point that you've made there. Nono?
Yeah, Veronica, that's actually right. I almost don't know what else to say now. But the underlying thing, which I also completely agree with, is that we all have natural abilities to lead. We all do. I think with women specifically, it's to be told at a young stage and be affirmed that you are a leader. I think that affirmation needs to be inbred in us, as opposed to, like I said, for me, I wake up 20 years into my career and I look back and I'm like, oh, they say I'm a leader. It looks like I'm a leader. It's like, it's like, hey, everybody's calling me a leader. It's almost like something that's like, as I said, I didn't plan to be, right? And I wasn't working with the intention to lead. But I think there's also, Veronica actually touched on that, is that sometimes it's important to know that your actions should be intentional to become a leader, and because that's a positive thing. There's nothing, it doesn't, sometimes we're also, I think, culturally are told that maybe if you want to be this thing, this, let's say, leader, it's as if you're boasting or you just overconfident and all of those, negative connotations to it. And I think leading with intention is also something that needs to be part of who we are. So it should really start from as kids, knowing that you have a potential to really just do amazing things, even in your little space of your little friends. And so it's that self-belief that needs to be instilled in women. And that, to me, I think it's around sharing stories, in spaces like this, because being a leader doesn't necessarily need a a title. You really don't need a title. It's really around, as I said, those little impacts that you can have in your home, from your friends, from the people just around you. And I think if women are confident and are given the confidence to know that that is their potential, then we would really have, this. I think that the world will really, really change, because I think that's what's been taken from us. It's just that ability to really believe in us, in ourselves as a collective. So there's very few that are able to see. That's why we have very few women obviously coming up. But if all women felt like those women, then we would really be phenomenal, I think. So yeah, but Veronica has already spoken most of the stuff. I just needed to add on that.
Thank you, Nono. I think, again, what stands out from what you are saying is that we need to lead with intent. So that's quite powerful. I just recently had this conversation with somebody I hold in really high regard, who said, leaders and
sorry, Karine, I'm not hearing you clearly.
Okay, you can't hear me well?
I hear you now, yeah.
Okay, so just to tag on to the point that you were making about leading with intent. Just recently I had this conversation with somebody I hold in very high regard, who said, you can lead without a title, but if you are able to lead with intent, that probably makes you a natural leader. So thanks for that input, Nono. Veronica, really powerful. Let me move on to the next question, which is what is the first steps? And these are, I think, some of the comments that are coming up. People are looking for help. They want to get some information and a better understanding of how to start off. So what is the first steps that I or us can take to set ourselves up for success when we start a new leadership role? Veronica, can we start with you?
Okay, thanks, Karen. For me, there are a few things that before I answer that question, let me just start by saying that women are leaders because we are very good at multitasking, and I think that's why it sits very well with us. So we are born leaders for sure. We just need to enhance that on different phases, different areas of our work, and then secondly, because we live in this society that does not give us a chance to breathe as we should. We should all have sort of an area or something that you go to and resonate that gives you so it gives you that power to reclaim your position or what you believe in or what you're capable of. And I think Nono mentioned about that acknowledgement or affirmation that we need, especially from being little ones, that you can do it. So we need that. So personally, I have this thing that I do in the back of my head silently, because I had a very strong role model. My dad was a very strong role model for me. And I look at situations and all of us as human being first, before I'm labeled as a mother, a colleague, a sibling, a daughter, So I look at, it sort of helps me to level the play field, that we are all human beings first. And therefore, because we're human beings, there are so many things that I can do with no limitations. So my gender doesn't dictate what I should do. So I like using that as I say that what should be the first step that I can take to set myself as a successful leader, if I can use that leadership as a, in question. I think for me, the first step is to know yourself. I think that is very, very critical. Our self-introspection will allow you to know yourself, know your comfort zones, know where you're pushing yourself, know your abilities. And then from that point, you'll be able to seek help where it's required. You'll be able to go and pick some books that you feel that you need to read to improve yourself. You'll be able to partner yourself with the right people, the like-mindedness people, and things like that. There are people who, just by their persona, don't like, they're not, what do you call it? They're not social animals, if I can use that word. And therefore, if you know you're not a social animal, you would want to partner with people who can actually complement. And you know, there's so many different characters that defines who we are. Once you know yourself, it will allow you to really prepare the journey of being a leader. Assume now that it's a role that you have to take. Of course, we've been leaders all along. So it will allow you to take a journey and improve yourself as you go on and partner with the right people. And also, once you know yourself, you have somebody who does not fit into your space, it will be easy for you to drop them and continue, and things will work smoothly for you. I think for me, that is key. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Veronica. Nono?
Okay, so, you know, at the beginning for me, I think the one place where I could say I was able to start practicing, where I could be like, okay, I think I'm a leader in this space, was when I arrived on the farm 10 years ago, and having to fulfill a role of one of the directors in a going concern. So it was already a business where there were workers, and I literally came in as an outsider, and then having to come and be one of the leaders in the team, right? But having not know agriculture, like I really didn't understand agriculture. My strength was in finance. I'd been in the financial services for 7 years or so. So obviously that was my skill that I was bringing in. So two things that Veronica mentioned, it's so funny how we probably have the similar type of thinking, because it's knowing yourself. Is that I arrived in there knowing what my strength was, you know, in the team, is that I knew that I had finance, you know, that's why I was here. And I was the one who's going to execute this ability for the benefit of the business. But yet I had no knowledge of the actual business itself. And so the one thing that I think is important that I did, which I would give advice to anyone, is when you need to learn, is to really connect with the people that know, you know? So it doesn't matter whether they are the levels of what they are, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether they are leaders, whether they are starters, but it's very important to connect with people who know, especially a little bit more than you do, so that you are able to lean on them and actually partner and collaborate in those spaces, because that's how they will see you as a leader as well. I'm taking another point that Veronica said earlier about being a follower. You know, before you can actually lead, you have to follow. That to me is around building relationships. You follow first so that you are knowing, so that you can actually identify what it is that, you know, kind of the opportunities of where you will be the leader, because you obviously will not be able to lead in all the spheres. And so, and I think for me, that is it. It's being able to really connect and humble yourself when you're meeting people and being in areas of new spaces, to be able to learn, and so that you're able to lead in the way that is required from you, using the skills that you're sure about from yourself.
Thank you, Nono, both Veronica and Nono, for your inputs in this regard. I'm very mindful of the time, so let me hand over to Nono for the last set of questions. Nono?
You're mute.
Sorry about that. I'm saying thank you so much. I want to read a few comments and a question, one or two questions from here. Ukira Kamara says, we need to collaborate more with each other and stop working in silos. I really appreciate this webinar because it is linking people with a common goal and empowering us with the relevant skills we need to move forward. We need to motivate each other. Sometimes the journey can be very lonely. That is so true. Thank you for that, Veronica. I just want to throw in a question. I know some people are here. Yes, we're talking about how, you know, leadership and the challenges we're facing and the skills we need as leaders, but let's get, someone is talking about how they are facing challenges with acquiring funding. So she says, I started a project called Help a Woman Feed Her Family, focusing on empowering youth and women to grow vegetables and food and sell any excess for an income. A community garden to grow spinach was started in Vusimuzi in Tembisa, August last year, which brought in money in the community. The project is ongoing. Our challenge is to acquire funding to expand the concept in our communities. So Nono and Veronica, I don't know if you could answer to that. That's a challenge that Bukira is facing, and apologies, I'm probably not pronouncing it right. That's a challenge that she's facing. Maybe are you able to speak to that?
I'll contribute a bit. So, in all honesty, in the sector right now, it's still a huge challenge to access fund that's appropriate. I mean, appropriate means some funds are not for all businesses. So for instance, it would not make sense to get access to like a bank loan to start a business because it's very expensive. So that's not an appropriate source of funding. And so we found that a lot of the the funds that are available for startup businesses are really around organizations that are putting together enterprise development funds and CSI projects, because a lot of that money is grant, which means you don't have to pay it back. And then others, they may have loans that are interest-free, or rather very, the interest is not as high as you would get at a bank. So for me, those are the places that would realistically provide you the appropriate funding to start off small projects. But then obviously that one means you have to be really connected. So hence I mentioned, connecting with people in the industry and understanding where the information is, because this is not widely available to everyone. Purely because, a lot of the organizations themselves don't know how to reach out to everyone. So, so for me, it's really around finding ways to connect with others in the industry so that you can hear when new opportunities come around. That to me is kind of the way you would access funds. The second way would be, land bank, as we all know, is the most appropriate for all agri-businesses, but at the moment it's a little bit difficult because of the situation they're going through. And so hopefully in time there will be appropriate funding that's available for, so please watch out for that. So that's why, even though they're not available now, don't just dismiss them forever. So there may be a time, because I know they're working with the department to also bring in grants that can be channeled through the bank so that they can find the right places. As I said, it's very hard for organizations to find those people they can actually provide those services. And then the third one is government. As much as we know government is, it's not necessarily like the best place, or there's always complaints, but I honestly would encourage you to actually go to your local municipality and find out. The opportunities also come in a variety of times. You may just be at the right time when the project is coming out. So stay informed. There's a lot of projects that happen in different regions. I can't tell you that in Free State, it's working the exact same way in Gauteng. But what I'm saying is stay connected and stay informed around what's happening in those three areas. So that's my advice.
Thank you for that. Veronica, would you like to speak to that as well?
Yes, maybe I can just add a comment or two. And I totally agree with Nono that please explore those options. And the government has got quite a number of different offerings that they're offered in the agriculture space. Some of them are post-COVID fund. It's a lot. So just try and explore those. However, I wanted to find out, your project doesn't describe ownership. So is it the community that owns that project, or is it an individual? Because the ownership of that particular project then determines who would fund you. And as Nono said, CSI departments of corporates can also fund you if it's a community-based or it's an NGO. But then if it's a PTY, for example, then you need to present it differently and to present to different funders. I would also urge you to look into either a national youth, NYDA, and also Gauteng Enterprise Propellers could also be good places to go. And I know for a fact that GEP could fund if it's a job creation initiative, and their next window opens in April. So just try explore those as well. Thank you.
Thank you for those questions. Thank you very much. I don't know if anybody else has a question, please type your question in. And I think the next question I'll ask before I move on to Karine is, what does success mean to you? Nona and Veronica, what does success mean to you as a woman and in the sector that you're in? What does success really mean to you?
Okay, maybe I could start. For me, success, I think I define success in very small pieces, because it leads me to it becomes a journey and a continuous journey to try and improve the space that I'm in. So personally, success, for me, success means living my truth and being myself, and pushing myself to the utmost limits. For me, that defines success. So whenever I chase a project and it comes to fruition and I start implementing it, I call it success. But then that is on an individual capacity. When I'm able to empower or change lives, even if it is just by making a comment or connecting two people to do business, or go as far as train and create a job to someone, for me, I define that as a success. So for success, for me, it really comes in bits and pieces and not one achievement. So not that I discount one achievement. I normally celebrate no matter how small the achievements are. But for me, success is actually it's like a continuous road that you keep on walking that path and learning and improving. Thank you.
Well, I'm not going to have anything to say, am I? Veronica has all the great ideas.
And I'm waiting to hear from you.
That's all my ideas. Your great ideas are my ideas. But in all honesty, it's true.
We co-learn.
Yeah, success is around. It's in different parts, it's in different pockets. And I think, but what I think then for me would be a differentiator, though, is that sometimes you have success by accident, right? So sometimes you weren't intending to do something. But I think for me, success is when you actually intend to do something and it happens. So hence, that to me is because you then obviously, you willed something and then you acted upon it and then you got the results. I mean, that to me is ultimate success. So it doesn't actually matter what it looks like, whether it means I was trying to connect someone, as Veronica said, the smallest things. Someone called me and said, please connect me to this person. And I said, okay, I think I can get that person. And then they connect. That's success. And then later on you hear whatever it is that may or may not come out. The work I'm doing in especially with the young people, I mean, just hearing my intention is to make sure that young people feel like there's opportunities. There's a lot of success in the work that I'm doing, but I get an email from someone's like, oh my goodness, I finally understood this opportunity and now I'm applying, I'm going to get through it. Just that positivity that came from that young person around agriculture, that to me is success, so it really is in the ways that you intend to do something and then you act on it and then you get positive results. To me, that's success.
I love that. Thank you so much, Nona. Ladies, those who are listening in, please type, what does success mean to you? Would love to hear that as well. What does success mean to you? Over to you, Karine.
Okay, we do not have much time left, but I think it's probably suffice to say, it's a great honor for us to have you, Nono and Veronica, on this panel today, and just really share your experiences, your skills, what you've learned, through this process, to becoming these leaders in your fields. I think what I've also picked up on the chat line was that people are saying we need to partner, we need to collaborate. So I think collectively we can all help to create an inclusive world. And progress of women is progress for all of us. So giving priority to women is not an option at this point. I think it is it is a necessity. So in closing, I would want to say more women leaders are a manifestation of good economic sense. I mean, we can see it here in these two brilliant examples of Nono and Veronica. So with that, I would like to thank both speakers. I would like to thank all the participants. And just to close off, I want to say, please join us again for the next conversation. We will share that information on our social media groups. So please look out for the next conversation. We'll run these conversations up until the end of March. And from my side, I want to say, keep reading, be safe, keep strong, build, learn, engage, co-create until we reach global gender parity. I want to hand over to Nicka for the final words.
Thank you so much for that, Karine. Ladies, I have posted a link, Survey Monkey. It's literally just 3 questions, so it'll take you less than a minute just to answer. We just want to know what you thought about the conversation today. Just to hear whether you were happy with what you're satisfied. So would love your feedback. So if you could just click that link and just answer the questions. And then for those who want to reach out to Nono or Veronica, Nono is available on nono@growthshoot.co.za. That is nono@growthshoot.co.za. Please, you can connect with her. And Veronica as well. Veronica, please go ahead and type in your details as well, where people can connect with you, because this is what it's all about. It's all about connecting. It's all about supporting one another and knowing where to go when we need support. So get in touch with Nono, get in touch with Veronica and Solidaridad as well. And for our next webinar is actually next week on the 17th of March. That's on Wednesday, the 17th of March. So we will post all the details on the Accelerator Big page, as well as the Solidaridad page. So please, can you join the conversation? And we would love to hear from you. And if there's any other things that you'd want us to discuss for the coming webinars, please go ahead and type those as well to tell us what are some of the topics that you want us to look at, what are some of the things that we want to discuss, because we will be running these webinars for the month of March. So, and we would love to address issues that you would like to know a little bit more about. So please send in your comments, write what it is that you'd also like us to cover, and please go ahead and just do the survey monkey. It will take less than the survey. Yeah, it will take less than a minute. So maybe closing words from Veronica and Nono. What are your closing words? We'll start with Nono.
My journey in agriculture has been it has been tough, I won't lie, but it has also been very fulfilling. And I think that's really what goes with anything that's worth doing and worth putting your effort in. It is going to be a bit tough, but I believe that we all have it in us to really just keep pushing. So all the best in your endeavors, and I welcome any communication from any of you, and it's going to be great to meet you. Thanks, and thanks to Solidaridad for organizing this. Ladies, thank you. This was a good session. Thank you.
Veronica?
Yes, thanks everyone. Thank you guys for organizing this. I've really been inspired by listening to Nono and reading comments. Personally, I always say let's continuously be hungry for improvement, hungry for development, hungry to change the world. That is why we're here. We should remember to be proactive, because things have really changed, and I think most of the things won't go back. We should learn and be keen to support one another, stop working in silos, and be the best version of ourselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So I think everyone can unmute and we can just clap hands and do our
Awesome. Well done, ladies, and thank you.
That was nice.
Thank you so much, everyone. Please enjoy the rest of International Women's Day, and do follow the hashtags IDW and choose to change. Keep very well. Bye bye, and be safe.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Ciao.